Morning members, ladies and gentlemen, can I please remind you to ensure mobile phones and other devices are switched off, that banners etc. are not permitted and members of the public are not allowed to address the meeting, to use the microphones which are available when addressing the meeting, and that you may be filmed or recorded during this meeting. Thank you. So thank you for being upstanding for your chairman. Chairman.
Please, while the Reverend Paul Massey leads us through prayers. Thank you.
Father in heaven, we ask for your wisdom as we begin this meeting. We acknowledge that we need your wisdom and insight, and we welcome your presence among us. Guide us in our decisions and discussions, helping us to seek what is best for all. We trust in your perfect wisdom and ask that you direct our meeting according to your will. In the Bible it says, "If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all without reproach, and it will be given him." We claim this promise as we start our meeting and trust in your provision. Thank you for being with us now and always. Amen.
Thank you. Please be seated. Well, half a leg. Okay, thank you, colleagues. The first item on the agenda is to approve the minutes of the previous meetings held on the 16th of May. Or just need to allow some movement to sitting down. We're just waiting for our colleagues here. Right, okay, we're on item 1, just to approve the minutes held on the 16th of May, please show. All in favour? Anyone against? No abstentions, thank you. And declarations of interest. If any councillor or officer has an interest... Oh, sorry. Oh, have I missed one already? Oh, that's good. I do beg your pardon. The pages sticking together. Well done for spotting that. The item 2 is apologies for absence, please. Firstly, Councillor Barnfather. And also, could I remind you that reasons for apologies need to be given? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I have apologies from Councillor Roger Jackson for medical reasons, Councillor Sinead Anderson for medical reasons, and Councillor Bruce Lawton for other reasons.
Thank you. And Councillor Henry, or it's Councillor Henshaw.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I'd like to give apologies for Councillor Allen, who's ill, and I hope members of the council will send their best wishes as she's been quite ill. For Councillor Guilfoyle and Councillor Henry for personal reasons, Councillor Payne and Welsh, who are on parliamentary business. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Henshaw, and yes, indeed, we do. Please pass on our best wishes to Councillor Allen and Councillor Deakin, please.
Thank you, Chair. I have Councillor Shaw, who will be arriving after his medical appointment this morning.
Thank you very much. So now we'll go on to declarations of interest. If any councillor or officer has an interest in any matter on the agenda, you should declare it now. Please raise your hand now if you have an interest to declare, and when called to speak, you should state what type of interest it is and give brief details. So do we have any declarations of interest, please? No. Okay. Thank you. So we go straight into Chairman's business, and we have an award to give this morning. This is the Bus Centre of Excellence Bus Initiative of the Year Award. So, Councillor Neil Clark, can I ask you to introduce the award, please?
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Chairman, and I have absolute pleasure. I'm very delighted to inform full council that the county council and their partners have won a national award for its student transport scheme that's seen over 2,000 students from West Notts College and Nottingham Trent University start using the local bus network. As members may be aware, it was thanks to the council's excellent relationship with the local bus operators like Stagecoach and Trent Barton that a pioneering multi-operator ticketing agreement was developed, and that has given students across to the bus for college, work and leisure. The uptake has been nothing less than extraordinary, with over 700,000 journeys taken already this year, and many of these at weekends and during the holidays. The council and partners decided to enter the Bus Initiative of the Year award, established by the Bus Centre of Excellence, and it was hosted by the Chartered Institution for Highways and Transport. We were pleased to be shortlisted, along with other notable entrants, and that included Transport for London and Liverpool Cities region, but we're really delighted to have been the winners at the awards ceremony in London on the 13th of June. In response to receiving the award, West Notts College said that their students have benefited significantly from this flexible and expanded bus service and use it for much more than just getting to and from college, such as attending work placements and enrichment activities, as well as for social use. So it is thanks, Chairman, to the Council's Transport Group, supported by the Comms and Marketing, Design and Print and Finance colleagues, that this student scheme has been so successful. They're represented here today, Chairman, and with your permission, if I could invite them to come forward as we present the award to you.
Indeed. Well, thank you, Councillor Clark, and I am delighted to accept this award on behalf of the County Council. The multi-operator student ticketing scheme is a shining example of partnership working at its best, and looking at the results so far, we can be very proud of the difference that this has made to the lives of students involved. It's great to hear that students aren't just travelling to get to and from college, but also the way it has boosted the local economy. And we look forward to seeing how this scheme develops, and maybe it's a blueprint for use somewhere else, perhaps. So congratulations to the Transport Group and all the staff supporting the project, a job very well done. So I'd like to invite Steve Hale, Bus Network Manager, David Kerry, Finance Business Partner, Deborah McIlwine, Interchange Manager, Elliot Mitson, the Manager for Development and Partnerships, Natalie Robinson, Senior Communications and Marketing Business Manager, and Tricia Wright, Data and Information Manager, and together with Councillor Clark to come up to the dais to receive the award. So thank you. So, Chairman's business, there's been quite a lot going on since the meeting in May. I had the pleasure of opening the adventures of the Mill Adventure Base at Kings Mill Reservoir in Sutton in Ashfield, along with Councillors Taylor and Girling and Bradley. And it's an amazing place. We've activities, zip wires, a big bouncing airbag. And one of the highlights, I think, was, I have to say, was actually seeing Councillor Girling jumping out from very high, from one of the ramps, one of the platforms, and jumping onto the airbag, and the airbag survived. So that was really good. So you're very welcome. And also the zip wire as well. Councillor Bradley and Councillor Taylor tried the zip wire, and sadly the camera didn't work, which is a shame. And but no, it truly is a remarkable place. I think everyone should be very proud of that. What else have I been doing? Well, June, of course, saw a lot of D-Day commemorations, and I attended the Southall Minster D-Day commemoration service, and also I went to Gedling Borough Council's D-Day flag raising. As I turned up, it was raining, but fortunately, just at the crucial moment, the sun came out, so that was lovely. And I also attended Ashfield's D-Day service at St Wilfrid's Church in Kirkby, in Ashfield, and also had fish and chips there. So that was quite delightful. Very, very nice. Thank you. Also, I attended with other members the D-Day Remembrance Service at the War Memorial across the river there. It's the moving drumhead service and sunset ceremony. It's always a very special occasion, but this year, of course, 80 years is even more significant. I also hosted an afternoon tea here for residents of Nottinghamshire who experienced D-Day. And it was really an experience to listen to their memories and to their experiences. It's really quite humbling for people who weren't in the military. They were youngsters at the time, living in Nottinghamshire and living through the war. And we recorded their stories so they remain for future generations. It's so important. I also attended the Normandy Landings annual dinner at the Army Reserve Centre in Bulwell, and that was also a very pleasurable experience. And also thank you to Councillor Saddington for joining me at that. I also must just mention the civic service held at Southall Minster. Thank you to those of you who were able to come along. It was a lovely day, weather-wise. The Minster looked fantastic. We had children there from the Cotgrave Church of England Primary School who sang very well for us, and it was just a lovely occasion. So well done everybody who helped organise that. We've had the flag raising ceremony here at County Hall in June. And also, I also met or had breakfast with the Apostolic Nuncio at the Bishop's Palace in Nottingham a couple of weeks ago. And then finally, just back to military matters, the annual Cryche Mercian Regiment memorial visit to, the Mercian Regiment memorial at Cryche in Derbyshire. I attended that a couple of weeks ago, and again, it's always a very special thing to do. So. And finally, yes, I must mention this. I visited my charities offices, Headway in Nottingham, and to see what they're doing with their, I won't say patients, but the people who need their services, and they truly do a wonderful job. To see some of the things that their patients have been through, and to see what the charity is doing to help them is really quite moving. So that's why it's an opportunity for me to remind you about the raffle outside, which is raising funds for Headway. So thank you for that. We'll move on to constituency issues now. And this item gives members who... I thank you. I ought to mention that lunch we're aiming for 12:30. So if we could keep that in mind. So on to constituency issues. This item gives members who have previously given notice by the deadline the opportunity to speak for up to 3 minutes on any particular matter relevant to their constituencies or any particular issues arising in their electoral division, which is relevant to the services provided by the County Council. This is an opportunity simply to air these issues in the council meeting. It will not give rise to a debate on the issues or a question, and it's not a question and answer session. Members are reminded that there is a maximum limit of 15 minutes for this item on the agenda, and each member may only speak for a maximum of 3 minutes. And any speech is not heard in the time limit will fall and can be submitted again at a future meeting. And we have 2 speeches today. First of all, I will call Councillor Lee Waters, who is wanted to speak about highway issues in Hucknall. So, Councillor Waters.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me to speak to the Council today on highways issues in Hucknall. I would like to address the gridlock caused by the works on Hucknall Road near the bypass, which is now closed until the middle of December. Councillor David Shaw, John Wilmot and I have been inundated with complaints from residents. Hucknall is now gridlocked, and whilst I appreciate the work is important, 6 months seems excessive. What possible roadworks could warrant such a lengthy closure of what is a main thoroughfare? We have been asked to look into this seemingly unnecessary lengthy closure and ask why such a time frame is warranted, leading to gridlock that it is producing in Hucknall. We have been told that the works and requirements of the development means that the works and their extent complexity is unavoidable. VIA's roadwork coordination team have carefully considered the whole programme of works, including utility connections, footway reconstructions and entrance creation. That means it is closed for so long. At the same time, Rocknell Road will be closed. There are intended alterations to the junction at Moor Bridge. These two works will effectively cut Hucknall residents off and through traffic alike. It is the case of one council not talking to another, and people who will lose out will be the people of Hucknall. Therefore, today, I would ask to make a plea to Nottingham City Council: do not start the works on Moor Bridge until Rocknall Road work is at least completed, and that the work on Rocknall Road is completed as soon as possible so Hucknall can get back to normal. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Waters. And our next speaker is Councillor Helen Ann Smith, and this is regarding the impact of housing development in Skegby. So, Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I rise today to talk about the adverse impact of housing development in Skegby, which is part of my sort of North Division, which I'm extremely proud to represent. In December 2021, the government's planning inspector caused controversy by overturning the democratic decision that was made by Ashfield District Councillors. This was to build a development of 206 houses off Gilcroft Street in Skegby. Nottinghamshire County Council's Highways Department failed to object to the controversial proposals, and the Conservative government also failed to ensure that there was a TR6 agreement in place to fix the harm that was caused by the development. As local councillors, we fought these proposals for well over 10 years, but then Secretary of State Eric Pickles made a statement saying that this site should be developed. Surprise, surprise, a few years later, his pals agreed. The level of opposition to the 206 houses was clear, even from the papers that were in the government's decision. It flew in the face of democracy, and I'm appalled that our objections were ignored by the Conservative government-appointed planning inspector. I said at the time that I had huge concerns about the impact on our local roads, yet the County Council ignored our protests, and they called this a sustainable site, despite its erosion of the countryside and it causing coalescence. So what now? Due to the development, Gilcroft Street, Hall Street and St Andrew Street are in a diabolical state, the worst roads in the county, and I challenge anyone to come and have a look at those roads and see for themselves. I am not just saying this, they are horrendous. Yet we continue to fail to take any action on this. These roads weren't in a great state before, but now they're even worse. They're being ripped to shreds by the constant use of HGVs going to the development. There's no surface left on parts of these roads, which are in big chunks have just been reduced to gravel, with stones flying up on hitting residents' cars, hitting residents as they're walking down the street. I am today, Mr. Chairman, making an urgent plea for action. I am calling for a promise that Gilcroft Street and St Andrew Street are to be fully resurfaced as soon as the development is finished. These roads are a danger for residents, and this council have abdicated their responsibility in the planning process, so we need to fix this problem now. We need to get to the grips with some of the worst roads in Nottinghamshire. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. So that's the end of our constituency speeches. So we move on to presentation of petitions. And I've been notified of 3 petitions by the deadline. May I remind members there is a 1 minute time limit for the presentation of each petition, and there is a maximum time limit of 15 minutes for this item. So we have 3 petitions. The first one is from Councillor Mike Pringle, and this is a request to extend the on-demand bus service to Walesby.
Thank you, Chair. I'm standing today to present a petition on behalf of the residents of Walesby. 436 signatures with a further 47 online signatures, offering a total of 483. Fully supported by the Walesby Parish Council and councillors. Marie Hill, who is an active resident within Walesby, has been asked to lead on this, and what a great job she's done too, I have to admit that. The residents are asking for a more frequent, inclusive bus service. Primarily, their thoughts are in utilising an already underused Knots on Demand bus. This service already passes through Walesby and is continually seen without a full or even close to full complement of passengers. Not only does the service pass through Walesby, but it often parks in Walesby, although won't allow residents to use the service. The only other public service, transport service, which offers any sort of timetable is the Sherwood Arrow. This service covers Walesby residents twice a day, once at 8:10 a.m. and then again at 3:45 p.m. Not perfect for rural residents.
We're just
Chair,
now,
the demand service would utilise an existing facility and offer more inclusion to my residents. Pretty much a win-win combination for all of us. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. And our next petition is from Councillor Steve Carr, and this is a request for surface repairs on Kilburn Close, Bramcote. Councillor Carr.
Thank you, Chairman. Fellow councillors, I have quite a small petition, but it's virtually everybody who lives on this particular close, Kilburn Close in Bramcote, are asking for repairs to be carried out to the road surface. And we're not talking about the occasional pothole here. I went down there the other day and there were 14 potholes on this small close, and they're not very happy about it. They say pay the same council tax as everybody else, and they feel as though they deserve the same service as everybody else gets, or not, as the case may be.
And our next petition is, or our final petition is from Councillor Debbie Darby, and this is regarding safer streets near schools in Coddington. Councillor Darby.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to hand in this petition today on behalf of Councillor Emma Holdham and 264 residents in Coddington, which forms part of my division in Collingham. The petition is entitled Safer School Streets in Coddington and for calls for public footpaths on Beckenham Road and Newark Road, close to Coddington Church of England Primary School, to be resurfaced. These pavements are a danger to pedestrians and to pupils alike. Desperate multiple requests, including by district councillors, others and myself. Via East Midlands, who carry out the work on behalf of the council, have not took action as of yet. We hope this petition will go some way to safer pavements for not just in Collingham, but also across the whole of the Collingham division. I'd also like to thank Councillor John Lee for signing this petition and supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I would like to ask the council to resolve that petitions be referred to the appropriate cabinet members for consideration, and a report will be brought back to the council in due course in accordance with standing orders. Which leads us to the responses to petitions presented to the chairman of the county council. I move that the contents of the report and the actions be noted. So this is just a noting report. Does anyone wish to make any comments on it? No, I suspect not. So those are moved. Thank you. So, item 7, recognition of members of groups. And I'd like to call Councillor Chris Barnfather, who will move the recommendations in the report. So, Councillor Barnfather.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. It's a requirement, obviously, when there are any changes to membership of groups to report it to this council. So I'd like to present the report as at page 39 of the bundle, but with a slight alteration. If I may ask members to refer to Appendix A, the alteration, Chairman, will be that the letters MP will no longer follow Councillor Ben Bradley as a member of the Conservative group, and I would ask that Council accept that we add the letters MP to the names of Michael Payne and to Michelle Welsh. And it actually gives me an opportunity on behalf of the administration and personally, Chairman, they're not in the chamber obviously, engaged on parliamentary business, but to offer our congratulations on their elevation to Westminster, and I'm sure they will be excellent ambassadors for this county and for this council. And I would ask please that those congratulations be passed on to those members. So the report is self-explanatory. Chairman, it refers to the temporary suspension of Councillor Doddy from the Conservative group, a matter which I'm sure will be rectified very shortly. And the recommendation is that the membership of the political groups be noted. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Barnfather. And Councillor Andre Camilleri, you wish to second? Thank you, Councillor Camilleri. So, calling members to speak on this, Councillor Doddy, you indicated to speak, I think.
That's quite correct, Chair. I think when you look at a document such as this, there are a number of figures and a number of words such as suspension. But words are a mighty bloodless substitute for real life. What this document represents is a real life experience. Paul, were you going to interrupt me there, or are you?
Carry on, Councillor Doddy.
Don't pick on an independent.
Councillor Doddy.
You know.
Councillor Doddy, do not get distracted. Do not be distracted. Just
I
carry
rely on you, Richard. I rely on you. Anyway, 2 weeks ago we had the most monumental change in politics, and my position changed in that an opportunity existed to not only be the chair of the Health and Wellbeing Board, but to bring that directly to the population, to stand out there, to go door to door and give them an opportunity to talk about what they wanted in their communities. Obviously, an option that was too tantalisingly attractive for me to pass up on. And as Boris Johnson said famously when he was the Mayor of London, if the ball comes free from the back of the scrum, you're tempted to pick it up and run for the line. Now, I'm going to say that in a few small months, I will be a doctor for 40 years. I could have delivered some of these younger members of the committee. And the one thing I'll say in the entirety of that existence is that the thing that served me best is looking to provide for the needs of the population. Where you see a population and you work to provide for their needs, too often what's happened is we give people what we want to give them instead of what they need. And I think when you give people what you want to give them and you don't give them what they need, one thing happens, one word occurs, and that is the need for change. So I went out on the streets, I went out door to door, I went out as an independent, not as an anti-conservative, not as an alliance independent, not as the Labour person, but as a representative of the population, of the people of Stapleford and Mid-Brookstone, because the most important thing of all and the most important reason that we're all here is to serve the population that we represent. And when we stop serving them, they stop voting for us. So you can see there, Dr. Doddy's suspended. Think of it more as a liberation. I stand before you as, sorry,
Councillor Carr.
I've only just started.
You don't have that long left, Councillor Doddy.
Sorry?
We don't have a lot of time, so we
I
don't want to cut you off when you're crying.
As the true champion of the health and well-being of the population of Nottinghamshire. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Doddy. Councillor Henshaw.
Thanks, Chair. You're right, Councillor Doddy, in one respect. When you look at this as a report, it's just basically facts and figures of political group makeups. It doesn't reflect the amount of time and effort each and every one of us in this chamber puts in towards supporting and championing their own particular area. Each of us perhaps want to do it in a different way. And, you know, that's the cut and thrust of politics. And I'm fully aware that in a democracy, people have a right to change their mind and move. So I'd just like to commiserate with you on your suspension from the Conservative group. I mean, you think it's liberating, it may well be that. But, you know, like Rambo, you went out there and you fought for what you believed in, and you know, things might change in a future report. I'd also like to make comment in relation to what Councillor Barnfather said in his note that he mentioned about our two new MPs and congratulating them, and thank you very much for that. We appreciate it, and again, that's democracy, and people wanted a change, and they did make some great changes in Mansfield particularly. So I'd like to take this opportunity to offer my commiserations to the leader of the council. Now, whether or not you think that I'm being sincere or not, that's entirely up to you. But I know full well that anybody that offers themselves to public service offers themselves, and it's a demanding job. It's a job that requires 100% of the time and effort, and people will be in Parliament now and they will find out just how demanding that job is. So commiserations to Ben, but also I would like to thank or pay tribute to the candidate in Mansfield, a very close friend of mine, Steve M, who now is the MP for Mansfield, and I'm sure he will do a great job in representing the people of Mansfield. You know, our communities are very often different and diverse, and each and every one of us in this room brings a different perspective to the way in which we represent them. And in a democracy, it's good that sometimes we have a change. There are a lot of places in the world where that change cannot be achieved through peaceful means. So I would just like to say to everybody that participated in the democratic process, thank you, because that is the way forward. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Henshaw, and I'm sure we would all we appreciate your thanks and commiserations, and that's exactly how debate should be. We even saw it in Parliament, didn't we, with a handover from one party to another, and that's how things should be kept with respect to each other. So thank you for that, Councillor Carr.
Thank you. I'd just like to stand up and agree with everything that Dr. Doddy, Councillor Dr. Doddy has just said. Those of you who know me will know that I was a member of the Liberal Democrats and its SDP before that for 40 years, and I took the decision to leave them, and that was for a lot of internal reasons rather than external reasons, but that's what I did. And like you said, it was like a breath of fresh air, not having the constraints of party loyal and discipline, etc., on you. And I'd just like to point out as well, and this might happen to you, the first time I put out a leaflet telling everybody that I'd left the Liberal Democrats and become an independent, my casework trebled overnight. So that's a sign, isn't it, that people actually like people that aren't in political parties. But it's each to their own. If you're happier in a political party, then do so. But I congratulate you, and it is a brave thing to do. I did have a lot of problems, not from the people I represent, but from the party that I used to be in.
So I know what it's like. And if ever you want to talk about it, we can do it the other way. Instead of you being the GP and the patient, we can do it the other way around. But there we go. So well done. Oh no, I'm quite happy here. And so well done. And I'll also commiserate with Ben as well. We don't very often agree with each other, and I've never really in a position to actually be voted out of office. But I can understand what it feels like, and so I think it's only the best thing to do to commiserate with people that are in that position. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Carr. Councillor Fowler.
Yeah, yes, thank you, Chairman. Yes, my commiserations as well to Councillor Bradley. I just wonder if there's a sense of liberation for you too, not quite on the same scale, but I know your family are perhaps see a little bit more of you, which sure they were welcome. But yeah, I'm so delighted that Michelle and Michael have now in Westminster. They will be really strong advocates, I think, for councillors and for councils in Parliament, and I think that's something that really we've got to make sure that they do. And don't worry, I won't nag them endlessly about it, but I'm sure they're there, and I'm sure they'll kind of advocate really expertly and hopefully with effect. One of the good things about the new MPs is an awful lot of them are actually now councillors. There's a big proportion, I think it's well over 100 now, isn't it, in Parliament? So they can really shout out for councils, because we're all said and done, any government's manifesto relies very heavily on councils to deliver a big chunk of it, and I think that's a message that certainly I'm keep banging on about. But thank you for your congratulations too, Chris. That's much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fowler. And Councillor Pringle, please.
Thank you, Chair. When anybody stands in an election, it's not just them that are affected. Family, friends, all those activists that's worked with them are all part of that election. So when somebody's a winner, somebody's a loser, the effect drifts further than the candidate that stands on the platform at the beginning. So sincere commiserations to you, Ben. When you walked into it with 3 different roles, the support with bows and a different contemplation from this side, but I think you've held honest court in this one. I've got to say I'm thrilled for both Michael Payne and Michelle Walsh for their success, but that's an obvious position for me to be in. Having said that, I do think when members from across the way were recognising Councillor Bradley as the conduit into Westminster, I think we still have that. So the offer for us to be heard in Westminster is still here. There might be a different colour, but I think realistically, being county councillors and understanding how we work, that can transfer through them as well. So let's continue that where best we can, I think, is primary. And secondly, probably to follow on from what Kate says, in some respects, Councillor Bradley, I think, really relaxed about it a lot. And, financially an issue, I understand that. But that is a lot to take on board. I think the reason that you're holding this position is because when you came into this council, you were seen as somebody that would be proactive and engaged and with a future vision. I recognise the work that you've done for the devolution deal. We might have a difference of opinion, but I recognise the work and effort over the 2 years that you put in for that. As I say, I just think that the representation in Westminster will continue through Michael and Michelle that you've created. So, thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Pringle. I don't see any other speakers. I'm sorry, Councillor Wilmot. I can't see you from here. So, Councillor Wilmot.
Thank you very much, Chairman. First of all, commiserations with Councillor Bradley. I'm sure he'll get another chance in the coming years. He's nice and young, which many of us have that problem. And congratulations to Councillor Payne and Welsh on their parliamentary success. I'm sure they did a lot of hard work and everything. Now, Councillor Doddy, you're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct in saying you should have freedom to represent your people and not have to be thinking about party politics all the while. You're absolutely correct. I was at a meeting a couple of weeks ago, and somebody said to me, "Oh, you're the council representative." Hold on a second. I'm not the council representative. I'm a member of the council, but I'm a representative of the people. That is the situation. And that should be followed by all of us. I mean, yes, we know with party politics, you've got somebody you knocking on your door if you say anything that's detrimental to the party and so forth. But it's not the correct way of carrying on. The correct way of carrying on is represent your people every time, and and I will continue to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wilmot. So I don't see any other speakers indicating to speak. Councillor Camilleri, you reserved your right to speak. Would you like to? Okay, thank you. So, we need to put the motion to the vote. Oh no, I'm sorry. We need Councillor Barnfather. You need to sum up. I'm so sorry.
Thank you, Chairman. Just to thank colleagues for their kind words across the chamber. I absolutely echo the thought that to stand for any elected office is not easy. We all know that in this room. It's hard on our families, it's hard on our time, and it's extremely hard emotionally, and particularly when the electorate don't support you. So commiserations to other members in this chamber who also stood and were unsuccessful on the 4th of July. And again, Councillor Henshaw's absolutely right. We are a democracy. Freedom is the word that's been used. Freedom of choice, freedom to be a member of a political party or not. And that's the freedom that we have the ability to exercise in this chamber and indeed across this country. The freedom to vote for all or none in terms of the candidates who put themselves forward. And there are people who are dying all over the world for that very right. And I always say to people on the doorstep, exercise that right. Even if you can't vote for me, vote for somebody, because somebody around the world at this moment in time is struggling and fighting for that right to be able to do so. So I thank members for their comments, and I of course thank Councillor Doddy for his liberation. And I have to say the role of Chief Whip will be much easier over the next month or two, I suspect. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Barnfather. So now we will put the motion to the vote. Show of hands, all of those in favour. Okay. And anyone against? No. And any no? Oh, is that no abstentions? So that's unanimous. That is carried. Thank you for that. So I now call Councillor Chris Barnfather again, who will move the membership of committees item. So, Councillor Barnfather.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. As they say, all decisions have consequences, and the consequences of decisions that we've already been speaking about resulted in the paper at agenda item 8, which is proposals for some changes to positions within the administration. So the proposals are that Councillor Bethan Eddy be appointed as the chair of the Health and Wellbeing Board, and that Councillor Nigel Turner is appointed to replace Councillor Eddy as vice chairman of the Health Scrutiny Committee. I can confirm that in order to meet our legal requirements and in discussions with the monitoring officer, it does necessitate some slight change to committee numbers and structure, in that the Health Scrutiny Committee will now move from 11 to 13 seats, and the proportionality is shown in the papers as attached. So I move the recommendations as at page 46. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Councillor Barnfather. And Councillor Camilleri, you wish to second the motion?
Yeah, I'll second that motion and reserve the right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, members, any comments? Councillor Doddy.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Anything that makes Councillor Barnfather's life easier, I've got to reject, and I've got to reapply to be a Conservative, Councillor Barnfather. Since 2012, when I first came here some 12 years ago, one way or another, I have been involved in the Health and Wellbeing Board. It only started in 2012, and back in 2012, the chair of the Health and Wellbeing Board was selected from people such as public health consultants people who had been in charge of organisations in the communities. It had been led by people who were not politicians. But little by little, as time has progressed, politicians have taken over some of the leadership. One of the most important things that has to be pointed out is that what's evolved and the challenges that exist to anybody who takes on that role as they move forward is the changes that have occurred. We've seen primary care networks established in 2019 over the last 5 years become increasingly involved in the execution of general practice care. We've seen the ICS, we've seen the ICB, we've seen the ICP, we've seen the place-based partnerships, we've seen the tremendous push from my point of view and public health point of view to drive the public health agenda, because we know that preventing disease is so much cheaper than it is treating disease. But the obstacles that will face anybody who comes in as the chair is the fact that the ICB are £100 million overspent. The mental health services are £20 million overspent. And we'll see what implications they have in the debates later on as we look at it, on what that might do to the fact that we're going to be talking about suicide later, to the fact that we might be talking about violence and protection of people later on. We'll see that challenge, and that challenge comes and is defended by anybody such as Bethan, who takes over from me, through the challenge of holding the ICB to account through its 5-year forward plan, where it has promised to give 1% of that sum of money to the preventative agenda of the £30 million cumulatively over a number of years. And what has it done? It's already defaulted. So in order to improve the health and well-being of the population of Nottinghamshire, we must understand that promises have to be followed up by holding people's feet to the fire. The ICB hasn't got any money, so how is it going to have a preventative agenda? If we haven't got the money in public health to drive the preventative agenda, how are we going to increase the place-based partnerships? How are we going to create? And this is the
Councillor
reason.
Doddy, could I just remind you, need to be speaking really to the
Appointment.
actual item.
The appointment, the ability of the
but
appointee
you
to
understand
carry out
the point
duty.
here, and again, I'd remind you, you're rapidly running out of time as well. So
yes.
stick
Somebody's
to the point.
got to do the job. If they don't understand the job, if they haven't done it before, if they don't understand the magnitude of what they're being asked to do, they may think, what in God's name did I do except in this position, when the right true heir today, chairmanship of the Health and Wellbeing Board, is already here. That's the point we're getting to. So the
well done, Councillor Doddy. So you've got to your point there.
we're almost there, Chair. We're almost there. I stood as an independent to bring out into the community the fact that the building blocks of health exist in people's houses. 1.5 million new houses to be built. Exist in people's jobs, exist in people's lives, exist in the communities in which they live. And if we can't deliver that because we haven't got the money, we haven't got the ability, or indeed if we haven't got the right chairman, then we're all doomed. How's that?
That's absolutely fine, Councillor Doddy. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So well done for that. And just to remind colleagues, we are talking about membership of committees item, but Councillor Gall, please.
Thank you. Councillor Eddy, I welcome you to be the chair of the committee. I would like to point out, actually echoing things that Councillor Doddy said in the past, that the biggest cause of ill health is poverty, not just lack of funding.
Yeah.
Funding in the NHS and things like that is poverty, and that's what we need to tackle.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Gowland, and Councillor Carr.
Thank you, Chair. Just like to perhaps remind the Conservative group that you now have a majority of 2. And it wouldn't have done any harm at all, and I'm sure that Councillor Eddy will do a very good job as Chairman of the Health and Wellbeing Board, but it wouldn't have done any harm at all in Councillor Doddy remaining as Chairman of this committee. He has the knowledge, he has the inside information, but now of course he's an independent, not Conservative, so you have to have a Conservative as Chair. Why? Why do we have to have a Conservative as Chair of the Health and Wellbeing Board? We should have kept Councillor Doddy in that position. He brings immense knowledge and immense experience, and I think it's a sad day. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Carr, and Councillor Wilmot. We spotted you this time.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Yeah, can I say that I've been a member since becoming the second time of being a councillor here at this authority, on the health scrutiny and the health and wellbeing board. And can I say to Sue Saddington and to John Doddy, what a wonderful, tremendous job you did as chairs of those committees. I was flabbergasted, absolutely flabbergasted when both of you were removed from your positions. And I think that politics has gone mad, absolutely mad to let that decision take place. As I say, but both of you were absolutely remarkable. You often put me told me off, by the way, but I deserved it. I know I did, because I went too far in many positions. But what I can say is, as I say, you were absolutely fantastic, both of you, and it was a sad day, a very, very, very sad day when we lost both of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wilmot. Right, no other speakers. So, Councillor Barnfart, sorry, Councillor Camilleri. Yes, you reserved your right to speak. Do you wish? Yes, of course. This is your moment.
Thank you. I'm sorry to see you go, John, but it was a decision you knew that it would happen, and I think you did an extremely good job, and you're obviously a brilliant doctor. But I'd like to say congratulations to Beth and Eddie, Councillor Eddie, because I think she'll do an excellent job. She'll bring a lot of experience. She's been your vice chair for a long time now, 3 years, I think, is it? Vice chair, sometime. Now I think she'll do a great job, and I'm sure, knowing the man that you are, that you will give all the experience and knowledge that you have, and you will help her do her job to the best of her abilities. And that's what we need. People make decisions in there, whether right or wrong, and I'm afraid that one perhaps was not the best decision of your career, John, but now you've paid the price, and good luck to you, Councillor Eddie. Thank you.
Point of order, Chair. Point of order. It's the people of Nottinghamshire will pay the price, not me.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Doddy, and thank you, Councillor Camilleri. And Councillor Barnfather, would you like to sum up on the motion, please?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I absolutely recognise what Councillor Doddy has said about the need for experience in the role of the Health and Wellbeing Board, which of course is why Councillor Eddie has been appointed to that position, having been the vice chair of the Health Scrutiny Committee for some 3 years now. She is the closest we have, other than Dr. Doddy, to a medical practitioner within the Conservative group. So we have indeed sought to follow exactly the pattern that Councillor Doddy promotes, in that we have put somebody with some background in the subject into the position to be able to work hard on behalf of residents of this county. And of course we have also recognised that Dr. Doddy's medical expertise and experience should not be lost to health matters that this administration and this authority have a role in. Hence we have allocated him a seat on the Health Scrutiny Committee, and I trust that he will continue to support health matters in this county by working hard on that committee. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Barnfather. So we have the motion moved and seconded. Can I have a show of hands, those in favour? Raise your hands clearly. Okay. And anyone against? And any abstentions? Okay. Thank you very much. So the motion is carried. So thank you very much. We move on to now executive reports. This is key issues and activities. And as set out in the Constitution, the leader has provided an executive report. The leader will move the receipt of the report for noting and may make a short statement introducing it. And I need to remind members that no other members can speak to this item and no amendment can be tabled. So I'd like to call Councillor Ben Bradley, who will move the report to be noted, please. Councillor Bradley.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm delighted at the pace that we're flying through the business this morning. Hopefully we can continue that way. But to briefly make a few comments on the report and some of the matters that have taken place over recent months, I wasn't going to unnecessarily delay in some of the previous conversations when I get my chance to speak at this point, but just to congratulate Michael and Michelle on their success. I totally agree with you, Mike, and indeed I've contacted both them and other new members of Parliament to make the same point, that when I said having a foot in both places and that influence was helpful to us as a council, I meant it, whether that's me or somebody else. So I've invited them over the summer to come and have that conversation, to have that detailed briefing about our challenges and the things that we want to raise with government, and I trust that they will go and do their best to do that. And you know, as has been said, I think anybody who sticks their head above the parapet, successful or not, in terms of standing for public office and all of the grief and flack that comes with that, does so wanting to do the best for their community, for the most part, and has my respect for doing so. So congratulations to them, to all the new MPs I've also reached out to for similar conversations, and commiserations to everybody who didn't win. As you pointed out, Kate, there is an element of relief in it, I have to say, in many ways. So looking forward to a more peaceful summer. But to the report, lots has gone on in the meantime. Obviously, we've been in Purda around those elections, but we have had a lot of progress even during that period. We have celebrated another milestone in terms of STEP Fusion. We've gone out to contracts for the development of that project, which is massively important to us for a variety of reasons that we understand. Councillor Girling and I went to speak about some of those investment opportunities, both STEP and others, at UK Reef, which was well attended last month. A number of events that the Chairman has mentioned, particularly around D-Day and Armed Forces Day, where, as ever, our county turned out in force to pay their respects and engage in those events. Attended a number, including the Mansfield Armed Forces Day, that was nice to see the town centre busy, and the economic impact of that, as well as the important marker and the important respect that we need to give to our armed forces. Chairman also mentioned the Mill Adventure Base. Posted to me at the time, I think, about the joy of seeing a politician take a running jump from a high ledge. But it was actually great fun, and I think will be fantastic. We are able as an authority to support as many people as we can to get these experiences. And the difference of us doing this as an authority here is that we are supporting both our children in care, our day opportunities, our wider services for vulnerable young people and adults to access those wonderful experiences, but also actually commercially, we're not in it to make loads of money, which means we can charge prices in the market that are reasonable and affordable for the communities that live around Kingsmill Reservoir, which is a fantastic opportunity further to be able to help more people to access those kinds of activities and projects. So we're very proud of it. I trust all councillors will go and take a big jump off a ledge at some point over the course of the coming year. And I think there's further opportunities to go and visit it. 18th of September, do sign up. And we all look great in the little harnesses, don't we? So that's a good opportunity for all of us. It's in your head, Mike. Finally, I just point to, in terms of some of the processes, some of the progress we've made. We did have the first formal meeting of the new combined authority, where we have now started to put in train the structures, the committees, the discussions that need to happen to start to build policy and to start to deliver on the major £4 billion investment that we brought in to our region. Loads of exciting opportunities we've discussed to death in this chamber, but let's say that continues to progress and now is becoming a thing, which is quite exciting. Over the course of the summer, start to pull together those plans and strategies to implement that investment. Now, there's a number of things in there in terms of policy changes. Two, perhaps, that I'd highlight. We've talked about bus services and other elements already this morning. One is the council received confirmation from the DFE about funding for another new SEND school. Now, that's really exciting. We're already building one at Ravensdale. We've refurbished and rebuilt the Orchard School. We've got huge expansion of our SEND places around the county. Now, Councillor Smith, as Cabinet Member, and I have written to DFE following the election, we're seeking to confirm that that funding is still there. We want that certainty. We want to make sure that that is going to continue. So I hope we will get that security from government in the coming weeks. But an exciting project and an opportunity for us to continue to expand and deliver that really important service. And now I won't steal Councillor Taylor's thunder on Ofsted, because it's fantastic, and she will no doubt wax lyrical about it. We have questions about it, but just to say, we were inspected by Ofsted for our children's services over the course of the spring. The outcomes are fantastic and well worthy of our praise and thanks and support for all the officers involved with them. I'll let Councillor Taylor dig into that in more detail. So I think from my perspective, Chairman, that is it from me, and look forward to an exciting, hopefully not too long, afternoon of council business. Cheers.
Thank you, Councillor Bradley. I'm sure we all do. And Councillor Barnfather, you wish to second the motion, please?
I formally second the report, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And as you know, colleagues, this is just a to-note report and has now been received by the Chamber. Right, yes, we are making swift. Well, I shouldn't say that now, probably tempting problems, but anyway, there we are. We now move on to questions to the Leader of the Council on the Executive Report. As set out in the Constitution, a maximum of 15 minutes is allowed for questions to the Leader of the Council on the Executive Report, after which any remaining questions will receive a written response. There will be a maximum of one supplementary question, which must be from the member who asked the original question. The supplementary question should be on the same matter and should be in the form of a question, not a statement. And there is one question for Councillor Bradley, and this is from Councillor Fole regarding the step fusion. So, Councillor Fole, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. And just with your endorsement, Chair, just to say, yeah, in terms of the Combined Authority, it really is exciting, and thank you for your work to make that happen. Okay, Ben. Okay, so this is the question. Progress on the step fusion prototype is welcomed, not only for the economic investment in Nottinghamshire, but also the commitment to clean, renewable energy that the project is working towards. With the news that the Labour government have overturned the de facto ban of onshore wind farms, does the Leader expect there will be further growth in the Nottinghamshire renewable sector as a result?
Thank you, and Councillor Bradley.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Kate, for the question. We've got some amazing opportunities here in Nottinghamshire and our region for developing clean and renewable energy. Indeed, many that have been underway for several years, with potentially significant benefits to consumers, to the economy, to our wider environment. You mentioned STEP. I'm still convinced is the single biggest investment in the East Midlands that we have ever had. Nobody's ever been able to show me a bigger one. But it presents a huge long-term opportunity for us to develop and commercialise that technology. If it works, we'll take massive strides forward towards meeting those carbon emissions targets in the late 2030s. Bluntly, even if it doesn't work, Nottinghamshire will get significant benefit from the major economic investment, both public and private, new infrastructure, the jobs that it brings, importantly, and again, regardless of whether the science works in due course, the surrounding infrastructure will see us massively expand the skills opportunity and training opportunities across Nottinghamshire and Lincolnshire and Yorkshire and beyond, helping thousands of local people to train in and qualify in areas related to clean and renewable energy. So that gives us huge expansion opportunities in science, in engineering, which will be a huge benefit to us in terms of expanding and growing that sector within our region. And obviously we have a new government, and as I mentioned with our investment in SEND and school rebuilds, I trust that Labour members, Labour MPs will be lobbying government for some early certainty that they intend to continue to fund these projects and to match the investment that the Conservative government put into North Nottinghamshire. There are countless other opportunities already as well. So planning changes, more permissive planning changes may speed up some elements, but if the suggestion is that it's a huge game changer, I think actually we've got a lot already underway, where we're already doing working in hydrogen and modular nuclear just over the border in Derbyshire. We've been building partnerships and investments around that for many years already, including major financial incentives now delivered under the Conservative government, coming online now, like our Freeport, like our investment zone, designed to attract more business investment into Nottinghamshire in this space in particular. My fear, though, I have to say, around Labour's planning policy and some of the changes that they look set to make in government, and we've already seen it actually, is that it will give a green light to major industrial development on our green belt. We've already seen it was one of Ed Miliband's first decisions, actually, as the Secretary of State. Labour nodded through. I'm sure he read all the detail and understood it all in the 3 days he was in office before he nodded it through. Approved multiple 4,000-acre solar developments across British farmland, including in Lincolnshire, despite significant local opposition. I'm gravely concerned as a resident of North Nottinghamshire myself what this means for the Great North Road. Solar proposals, some 4 miles wide of solar farms across North Nottinghamshire countryside, encircling beautiful North Nottinghamshire villages with metal and glass. And again, in the face of huge local objections, I submitted my own opposition actually to those plans, to local parishes, to the developers in recent months. If Labour plans to overturn local objections to developments like these, cover our countryside in metal, then I think that policy changes will destroy our rural areas and be a blot on our Nottinghamshire landscape. So perhaps there will be benefits in terms of speed of developments in a positive way in some cases. I always have grave concerns about what this policy means for our residents' right to have a say in those kinds of planning proposals that will have potentially a massively detrimental impact on their communities in Nottinghamshire.
Thank you, Councillor Bradley. Councillor Fold, do you have a supplementary?
Yes, thank you for that. I understand your concern over the possibility of a major industrial investment in the Greenbelt. I don't think that is going to happen. I don't see that actually in the legislation that I've seen. But when it's all said and done, and I accept some of the arguments that you've made, but if we do not get to net zero, if we do not tackle this climate change, then we're all going to be in difficulty, and not just in England as well, right the way across the world. I think it's something we need to take much more seriously, and that was really what this question is about. And I know you voted against wind farms kind of when you were an MP. Yeah, and the step proposed to, as you said, is very exciting. A lot of this is actually very exciting, but a lot is going to happen for an awful long while. And if we don't tackle climate change now, then do you not agree that actually we will be in real difficulty, and we need to take renewable energy, including wind farms, an awful lot more seriously?
Thank you, Councillor Fold. Councillor Bradley.
Thank you. I do agree, and I think we're already doing it. Again, if the question is, do these changes in national policy have some huge difference or impact? No, I'm not convinced they do, other than adding the additional risk that we now see, as I've described. But actually, we have the levers locally, and particularly within the combined authority, to be able to shift the incentives. Now, we look at solar farms or wind farms, turbines, other elements like that. What we have to do is have a system that incentivises the right actions that we want to see. Actually, the new regional mayor has those opportunities, particularly if you look at solar that I've mentioned. I want to see it on industrial sites, on roof spaces, not on fields. We have the ability to set a planning framework and to put financial incentives on a regional level into doing precisely that. So we already have a lot of those levers now within the region as a result of several years of trying to negotiate and pass them down from government. But that is a democratic local decision that we can take, which is different to Ed Miliband in Whitehall nodding through local proposals against the wishes of local residents. That's my fear. But I hope that on that regional basis, we can set in place a framework that is able to deliver the kinds of things you're talking about, Kate. And I think in many ways, both in terms of negotiating those powers and funds and the projects I've mentioned, we are if not already doing that, certainly already have those processes and programmes in place. Look forward to supporting them through that forum. And of course, many members in this room will have a role in those regional decisions on various committees and groups and decision-making elements of the combined authority too. So we will have our chance to make a case for the right kind of renewable investment and projects that we want to see in Nottinghamshire and through the council.
Thank you, Councillor Bradley. So we now move on to the 10B, questions to the leader, cabinet members and committee chairman. We have, as set out in the constitution, we have held 52 minutes remaining for questions to the leader, cabinet members and committee chairman, after which any remaining questions will receive a written response. There will be a maximum of one supplementary question, which must be from the member who asked the original question. The supplementary question should be on the same matter and should be in the form of a question, not a statement. If I can offer some words of sage advice here, a very good way to ask a supplementary question is to say, thank you very much for your answer. What, why, who, where, etc. There's no need for a statement. So I would ask colleagues to bear that in mind, especially as we don't have a great deal of time left for questions. And if you take too much time making, I know I'm making a statement, but if you take too much time making a statement, then you're eating into question time. So I hope that the message is received, and I have my gavel here if I need to. So we have 9 questions today, and the first is from Councillor Kate Fold. and this is about diversity awareness, and Councillor Ben Bradley to reply. So Councillor Fold, please.
Me again. Okay. So, following a report by His Majesty's Inspectorate of Probation, the Youth Justice Service confirmed that it is committed to improving its understanding of diversity and disproportionately by developing and implementing a diversity strategy. What plans does the leader have to ensure there is a better understanding of diversity more widely across the council?
Thank you, Councillor Fold. Councillor Bradley.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for the question. I've read the Youth Justice Service report. It makes some salient points about particularly related to ensuring that services are equally accessible to all, are delivered in a way that is understanding of cultural differences in our community, and that's absolutely right. It's obviously important that our justice system is fair and accessible to everybody. But here at the council, we're equally committed to ensuring our services are fair and accessible, that we tackle discrimination as far as our services are as possible. Our services are designed with the people they serve through co-production. That's something that's really important to the administration too. I have never and will never pursue diversity for the sake of diversity, nor would I ever seek to prioritise or invest in diversity practices at the expense of the delivery of vital services. We're here to improve public services, not tick boxes. And of course, as Councillor Gowland pointed out, the key driver of the need for intervention from many of our services is a financial or economic one, very often rather than related to any kind of protected characteristic. But with that said, the council, of course, has all the appropriate policies you would expect to ensure we have the right and appropriate workforce for the job, that our services are accessible to everybody, that we tackle discrimination, and that we properly engage with the broad range of communities that we represent across Nottinghamshire.
Thank you, Councillor Bradley. Councillor Fold, do you have a supplementary question, bearing in mind the advice I gave?
I do. Yeah, I just want to kind of quote a little from your website, Ben, on the 5th of August, and I'm going to directly quote this, just to ask you if you still stand by these words. Mr. Bradley has consistently opposed diversity training, which you go on to describe as junk nonsense, and that BAME as a term in your word is unhelpful. I mean, first, do you stand by those words? I'm getting the impression that you possibly still do, given what you just said. And just to give you some context before I ask the last question, it will be very quick, I promise you. This is from the Youth Justice Inspection Report, and I quote, "The YJS, that is the Youth Justice Service, disparity data for 2021 for Nottinghamshire YJS and Nottingham City YJS showed that black children were 4.2 times more likely to be cautioned or sentenced than white children, and girls made up 19.1% of the YGS caseload at the time of inspection. So this isn't just for the sake of diversity, there are real consequences by not tackling this head on. And it does say in here as well, the service is taking a closer look at girls who are entering the service and working on awareness of how unconscious bias, which I think is an awful lot, which a lot of this actually does go on in this council chamber at times, can affect decision making and may lead to girls receiving disproportionate outcomes for violent offences. So, just to reiterate, not just for the sake of diversity, can you not agree that ignoring diversity or not tackling it properly, when making policy and delivering a service, has serious consequences for real people, and including our children and young people?
Thank you, Councillor Fold. Councillor Bradley.
As I said, I think I've already answered the question, really. I'm all in favour of ensuring that our services are delivered appropriately and accessible to everybody and are fair and do not discriminate. What I'm not in favour of is box-ticking exercises, mandatory training programmes and other elements that may or may not be fit for purpose, may or may not be people's choice at the end of the day. You mentioned the phrase BME, and it's a good example, actually, of where, dare I say, I've blazed a trail on equality and diversity, Kate, in the sense that having raised my concerns about language like that, where effectively we lump everybody in a box and we say BME people think this, as if it's one homogenous community and we're not individuals. Actually, since then, and I got slated for saying it in the first instance, that's now the government's official position. It's actually the NHS's official position, and others as well. They no longer use that term for the same reason. So I've been proven right on this, actually, in many occasions. It's something I'm quite proud of. I'm one of very few people in Parliament who has challenged our equality legislation and whether it is actually appropriate and fit for purpose. I don't think that it is, to be honest. But as I mentioned, here within the council, we are absolutely committed to ensuring that our services are appropriate, that our services reflect our communities, that they are accessible to people, that we do not discriminate. That is very different, I think, to a lot of corporate box ticking that goes on in a lot of organisations. I wouldn't spend money on diversity czars or or specific roles, because I think that openness and that equality and that commitment to not discriminating against people has to be embedded across our institution. It's not to have a particular special flagship job that we all be extra nice to each other. That should just be our culture as an organisation, and that's what we try to achieve here, and that's what I've tried to embed through the administration.
Thank you, Councillor Bradley. Our second question is from Councillor David Martin, and this is concerning plans for land near Towton. And Councillor Keith Girling will reply. So, Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Chair. At the budget meeting on the 22nd of February 24, you repeatedly stated that there were plans for the land near Towton originally bought for HS2. At this meeting, you failed to say what these were, other than mentioning the website, which was actually outdated by a more recent decision process that the council were involved in. Can you update the council on what the plans are? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Martin, and Councillor Girling, please.
Thanks, Chairman, and thank you, Councillor Martin, for your question. Excuse me. In November 2021, the government published its integrated rail plan that confirms that the HS2 station at Towton was no longer proposed. The Towton and Chetwynd Barracks Strategic Master Plan, supplementary planning document, set out the development principles for this key strategic area, and these remain valid. The land retained by the County Council at Towton forms one of the three significant development locations in close proximity to one another. Together, they provide a once-in-a-generation opportunity for both the county and the East Midlands as a whole to boost its economy and drive up aspirations, skills, productivity and prosperity for everyone. This opportunity will seek to create a development with excellent connectivity through new public digital infrastructure and walking, cycling links to connect communities to opportunities on local, regional, national and international level. The significant development of the Towton area over the coming years is anticipated to deliver 4,500 new homes, 6,000 new jobs, 18,000 square metres of development and employment space. There will also be further opportunities for development to contribute significantly to the County Council's local delivery of net zero and sustainable growth ambitions, with low carbon technology jobs also being a core focus of the development. The County Council is now actively engaging with EMCA to ensure that the site can move forward over the coming years and realise the huge potential outlined. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Girling. Councillor Martin, do you have a supplementary question, please?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I didn't want to prevaricate over it. It's just that obviously not being a part of the decision process recently, and I didn't want that site to be affected by other influences such as HS2 and talks with Nottingham Forest. Just wanted to make sure that it was all still going on, because as the chairman of a charity for the restoration of a canal, I know how long these things can take, and I just wanted to ensure that the people of Long Eaton, Chilwell and Stapleford were assured that the plans were still going ahead, and thank you for your answer.
Do you want to reply on that, Councillor? Yeah, thanks. And thank you, Councillor Martin, for that. Councillor Girling.
Yeah. I'd like to reassure yourself and the rest of the council, really. We're not rushing into it. It's real potential there, and the plan's public because it's. I think it's in the local council's plan. You know, so it's all public documents, and it's about now making sure we maximise the impact that we can have in that area, which is solely needed, and that's one of the reasons why we're not rushing into it. We're making sure that it's all integrated and working with EMCA to make sure we get the maximum benefit from it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Girling. Our next question is from Councillor Philip Owen, and this is concerning Ofsted inspection of children's services, and Councillor Tracy Taylor will reply. So, Councillor Owen.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. My question, as you say, is to the Cabinet Member for Children and Young People Services. Would the Cabinet Member for Children and Young People Services join me in welcoming the very positive outcome of the Ofsted's inspection of Nottinghamshire County Council Local Authority Children's Services, which took place between the 20th and 24th of May this year.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. And Councillor Taylor, would you like to reply, please?
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Councillor Owen, for your question. And I make absolutely no apologies for the length of this answer. Yes, I'll definitely join you, Councillor Owen, in welcoming the outcome of the recent Ofsted inspection, because it reflects the investment and hard work undertaken by successive Cabinet members, corporate directors and officers who've taken responsibility for improving our children's services over the past 15 years. And I say 15 years because in late 2009, this Council's children's services were the subject of an urgent, unannounced Ofsted inspection. That inspection identified several areas for priority action and led to an inspection of safeguarding and looked after children's services in March 2010, which found those services to be inadequate in respect of overall effectiveness, quality, capacity for improvement and management and leadership. As you'll recall only too well, Councillor Owen, within weeks of assuming the role of Cabinet Member for Children and Young People in 2009, you were being told by a government minister that if you could not very quickly deliver improvement in our children's services, you would have to resign, even though you were clearly not responsible for the failing culture that you had literally only just inherited. Chairman, it was Councillor Owen and the new Conservative administration at that time who agreed significant, urgent, new investment in children's services to kickstart an improving safeguarding strategy that has continued ever since. By 2011, Ofsted's annual children's services assessment was reporting that Nottingham's children's services were performing adequately, having been assessed as performing poorly only 12 months previously. The Secretary of State for Education recognised this fast improvement and formally lifted the improvement notice on this council in November 2011. Councillor Owen was the first to caution against any sense of satisfaction about children's services here improving simply to becoming adequate. The culture set in train by Councillors Owen and the then Council Leader Kay Cutts was to aim for excellence and not adequacy. In 2015, by which time Labour Councillor Alan Rhodes was the Council Leader, Ofsted stated, "Most services for children and young people are now good. Council leaders and managers are determined to improve services even further, and they are doing well. The Council knows what it still needs to do to further improve services for children and young people, and managers are taking effective action to address the weaknesses that are still there." In 2019, when the Council was back under Conservative control, with Councillor Cutts as leader and Councillor Owen once again as Cabinet Member, children's services were found to be good in respect of the impact of leaders on social work practice with children and families, the experiences and progress of children in care and care leavers, and the overall effectiveness, albeit with further improvements still planned in respect of experiences and progress of children who need help and protection. So that brings us, Chairman, to the latest inspection of this Council's Local Authority Children's Services, which took place in May, under my watch as Cabinet Member, and for which the report was published last Friday. Nottinghamshire County Council is now rated good in respect of the experiences and progress of children who need help and protection, the experiences and progress of children in care, and the experience and progress of care leavers. And I'm delighted and proud to report that the authority is now deemed to be outstanding in terms of the impact of leaders on social work practice with children and families. The report states, and I quote, "The Director of Children's Services and the highly effective leadership team are aspirational for children and young people in Nottinghamshire. Clear strategic direction, effective partnerships and strong political and corporate support for children's services have sustained and improved services for children and families since the last inspection in 2019. Significant investment in children's services and the ongoing transformation of the multi-agency safeguarding hub are helping children to receive support at the earliest opportunity. This is ensuring children receive the right support at the right time. The report continues. Leaders have a comprehensive understanding of the service's strengths and the areas for ongoing development to improve the lives of children and young people. Leaders and managers have developed a robust, strengths-based and child-focused culture that has permeated the organisation. A relentless focus by leaders on improving the working conditions for social workers has created an environment where social work can flourish. So, Chairman, to reiterate my answer to Councillor Owen's question, I absolutely welcome this very positive outcome. But I also echo the sentiments that he expressed when the first shoots of recovery were seen in 2011. This is not the completion of a journey, it is simply the latest staging point. This administration, and I hope future administrations, whatever their political persuasion, will continue to pursue the goal of making all aspects of our children's services outstanding. And in striving to do so, we will pay close attention to Ofsted's advice on where and how we can make further improvements. There is no question of this positive report leading to any sense of complacency, let alone triumphalism. But politicians and officers are entitled to welcome it as evidence that the investment and transformation work carried out over the last 15 years has been vindicated by 3 successive Ofsted reports, the latest being the best so far. So again, to quote directly from the report, political and corporate leaders are committed and active corporate parents and ambitious for children and young people. There has been significant investment in children's services since 2019. Chairman, as the current Cabinet Member for Children and Young People Services, I'm proud of the progress that we've all made, and I'm fully committed to ensuring it continues for the benefit of vulnerable children throughout Nottinghamshire.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Owen, do you have a supplementary question, please?
Inevitably, Chairman. Can I thank the Cabinet Member for her response, and would she agree with me that this Council has been very fortunate to have had Anthony May as the corporate director who first started the improvement journey, rising phoenix-like from the ashes of that awful report, followed eventually by Colin Pettigrew, who has built on that very firm foundation to have reached the position that we are in today. And of course, not forgetting the work that Derek Higdon did during the interim period between Anthony May leaving and Colin Pettigrew taking over. And to that end, in addition, would she wish to highlight any specific aspects of the Ofsted report that, in her opinion, epitomises the progress made, and any areas for improvement where we can already point to plans being put in place to make that further step from good to outstanding?
Thank you, Councillor Owen, and Councillor Taylor, if you'd like to reply.
Thank you, Councillor Owen, for your further question. Wow, where to start? I think I used various quotes in my initial answer about so many of the specific aspects of the report that I would highlight. When we got the report, it came in 3 parts. The covering letter that said, here it is. The report, which was very meaty and dry. But it came with a letter to the children and young people in our care. So I think I would look to that for the things I'm most proud of. The letter is written in you language. It's a direct letter to the children. And it says, social workers respond quickly to help you. Social workers make efforts to find out what life is like for you. Social workers ensure that you are well cared for. So I think a lot of the report is distilled in the language that's used in the letter to the children and young people themselves as being those who are receiving our services. And in terms of areas for improvement, there are three that are highlighted in the Ofsted report. They're around convening strategy meetings, personal education plans, and in helping care leavers access and sustain employment or education. And I think what I would draw from those is these were not unknown to us. These are areas for improvement that we had clearly identified in our own our self-evaluation. So I'm very proud that we had a strong sense of self-awareness, and I'm confident that because of that self-awareness, we have the ability to progress in those areas for improvement and carry us on through that journey. And in terms of plans in place to make that further step, Councillor Owen, I would look to, again, the references to investment that started under your past tenure, that have continued to date, specifically the dynamic work that's going on at the moment, the review of the MASH and early help services, so the focus from thresholds to needs. And I think with the energy of this workforce and the energy of the leadership that is supporting it, that we do have the ability to make that move from good to outstanding. And I think in closing, Chairman, if I may, I want to recognise 4 groups of people, I guess, in having achieved this success. That's the workforce, that's our foster carers, that's our external partners, whether it's police, health, whoever they may be, and it's actually the children and young people themselves. Their voice was heard in this report, and I'm really proud of the members of our Children in Care Council who actually participated in that. And I think I'll make one closing statement, which is something I said to staff on a call late last week. It's really easy when you get something like this as a leader with that responsibility and leaders around the room to see leadership as something totemic. And it's great for me to say I could be in the spotlight today. Leadership is something that permeates through all levels of this organisation. So it comes from the political leadership, the corporate leadership, but it comes through every level of our management through all of our children's social care services. And I used the expression the other day, down to the frontline social worker who happens to put their hands round the newbie on the day that they start. And to me, that's the kind of leadership quality that we have in this council, and I'm hugely proud of it, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. It was a comprehensive reply. We now move on to Councillor Gowland, who has a question regarding council-owned properties near Lady Bay, and Councillor Gowland will reply.
Thank you. I think this will be a quick question. Councillor Clark, the council owns 2 houses to the east of Lady Bay, which have been vacant for years. Residents have been, sorry, not to Councillor Clark, the Cabinet Member for Economic Development. The council owns 2 houses to the east of Lady Bay, which have been vacant for years. Residents have inquired if the properties could be used commercially or to house families. And I know there have been specific inquiries about this in the last 3 years. Can the Cabinet Member update the council on any plans for these properties and the proposed timescale for a decision for their use? Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Girling, please.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Councillor Garland, for your question. The 2 properties known as I get all the hard words. Ad Bolton Cottages are linked to the ongoing and wider school consideration for the whole area around West Bridgford and Lady Bay, which we are engaged in with the Borough Council and other stakeholders. A decision on the school is due shortly, and this will enable a way forward on the disposal of the cottages to be agreed. The properties are in need of a significant amount of investment for them to be inhabitable and lettable in short term, and as this wider decision is due in the near future, we would be reluctant to invest unnecessarily. Any decision that are made about the site and the sale of the cottages will of course be shared locally and through the usual channels.
Thank you, Councillor Girling. Councillor Gowler.
Thank you. My daughters went to the primary school there, and it's 20 years since a plan to build on that site or close to that site was originally proposed, probably more. Could you be more precise about the date? Secondly, a residents locally have proposed rewilding that whole area, sort of biodiversity net gain for the existing historical development in the area. I wondered if that could be considered as well. I'd be very keen on an exact date for this school.
Thank you, Councillor Gowland. That was a very good way of actually asking two supplementaries when you're only really allowed one, but we'll let it go. So, Councillor Girling, please.
I don't mind answering both really. I can't give you a precise date because it's part of a bigger picture, and I know it might have been 20 years, but I've only been in this post for 3.5, so I'll be responsible for the 3.5 years of that 20 years. We are getting very close to it, to be fair, and the papers will be coming to me quite shortly for me to make a decision on it. As you know, schools, building of schools and the demographics of that, it's not an easy thing to do, and it fluctuates all the time, so we've got to make sure we make the decision correctly, so that we don't end up doing something with the land that might jeopardise its future uses. But as soon as I make the decision, I'll make sure you know.
Thank you, Councillor Girling. Our next question is from Councillor Kane Oliver, and this is about the bus service improvements, and Councillor Neil Clark, MBE, will reply. So, Councillor Oliver, please.
Thank you very much. In January, Eastwood was announced by this council as a priority area for improving buses. In a document released following a bus network review, the County Council listed proposed improvements to the 528, 532 and 535 bus services, which cover Eastwood. Can Councillor Neil Clark please provide an update? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Oliver, and Councillor Clark.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I can indeed confirm that officers are currently reviewing options for bus service improvements in the Eastwood area, and it remains a priority. Once this work has been completed in the early autumn, I will ensure that local members, including Councillor Oliver, are consulted before sharing any outcomes with residents. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Clark, and Councillor Oliver, supplementary.
Can I thank Councillor Clark for his answer? I'd also like to thank the transport team at this council for listening to my request as a county councillor. This is exactly what I asked for when consulted as part of the bus network review. And can I ask that Eastwood has continued to be considered a priority and any improvements are done in full consultation with the town council and the bus users?
And Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, the easiest answer to that would be actually yes, and that is the answer. But I will just take the opportunity to state that the bus network review that Councillor Oliver referred to in his question, which was published last December, states that the services listed, including those in Eastwood, are in the priority order for changes over the next 2 years. And that remains the case. We're currently 8 months into that. And Eastwood is indeed a priority area. And I'm sure that Councillor Oliver would want the bus improvements to be thoroughly thought through and consulted before implementation. The Council has an outstanding team of officers working on bus services in Nottinghamshire. And as we've noted earlier, members have indeed congratulated those efforts in the officers securing Bus Centre of Excellence Bus Initiative of the Year award. I would just point out this Conservative administration has done its utmost to protect and, where necessary, subsidise services across Nottinghamshire, compared with some other local authorities that have long since made massive reductions to local bus service support. Whether we're talking about Eastwood or any other part of Nottinghamshire, Mr. Chairman, it's better to take a little time to ensure we are delivering the right solutions for bus users. But I'm sure that a positive outcome will be coming to Eastwood shortly. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. Our next question is from Councillor John O'Lee, and this is regarding school place provision in Newark. Councillor Lee.
Thank you, Chairman. As the Cabinet Member for Education and SEND is aware, our electoral division in Newark and Boulderton contain 4 primary schools, including the brand new Christchurch CAV Primary School in Middlebeck, the recently rebuilt Newark Academy, and the new Orchard Special School, which has recently been expanded. Given the ongoing construction of large housing developments and the significant efforts already made by the County Council to meet educational needs, could you provide clarity on what additional measures are being undertaken to support my residents and their children accessing school places, please?
Thank you, Councillor Lee, and Councillor Sam Smith to reply, please.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Councillor Lee, for your question. Ensuring children across our county have access to a good education close to where they live is a priority of this council, and you have rightly pointed out that in our divisions and for the families we represent, it has included the council rebuilding the Newark Orchard Academy on London Road for special educational needs, also rebuilding the Newark Academy. We've also moved the Christchurch Primary School onto a bigger site in your division. And this council has also supported the building of the brand new Southers Academy, which is offering outstanding secondary school provision in Fernwood. I know these now completed projects have made a significant positive impact on the lives of families across Boulderton, Newark, Middlebeck and Fernwood, something that which you, Councillor Lee, have continuously lobbied this council for. The community of Fernwood, which you represent, Councillor Lee, continues to grow, with 3,200 new homes forming part of Newark and Sherwood District Council's core strategy, and they have been allocated on land around Fernwood and south of Boulderton. These new houses will, of course, generate the need for additional school places, and I can confirm to you and the families moving into your division that this council has plans to ensure the sufficiency of school places for those children. Land to the north of Fernwood has outlined planning permission for up to 1,050 homes. Under the terms of the Section 106 agreement, the developer has paid an education contribution of approximately £4 million to the County Council. This £4 million is intended to be used towards expanding the Tutor Reed Annex at Fernwood from 210 places to 420 places. The housing development site is on land next to the Fernwood Tutor Reed Annex, and the developer is required to transfer an adjoining plot of land to the County Council to facilitate that school expansion. I met with the head teacher of Tutor Reed Primary School on Tuesday of this week, and she was pleased with how things are progressing. Plans for the expansion at Fernwood have been drawn up and shared by the head teacher with the Tutor Reed staff team, and they were just as pleased as the head teacher was. This expansion project is currently being reviewed through feasibility, and subject to this, the date for additional capacity will be confirmed. It is, however, anticipated to be delivered by September 2026, and I'll be banging on Councillor Girling's door to make sure it is for you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Lee, do you have a supplementary?
Chairman, thank you very much, and Sam, thank you for that answer. As you're aware, we have one more school in our patch that neither of us have mentioned, and that is Highfields Private School. Knowing that it's being reported that we're expecting 40,000 pupils might be forced to move from private schools to state schools due to the fee increases, I am worried about the readiness of our state schools to handle this influx, especially with us having a private school in our patch. Do you agree, and what is your opinion on that?
Thank you, Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Councillor Lee, I'm just as worried about you as you are on the impact that Labour's VAT policy on private schools will have. We've seen it in the King's speech this week, and it's based on absolute nonsense, because the amount of income that they think is going to be generated from that will actually not be generated, because a large proportion, you say 40,000, a large proportion of children in fee-paying schools will simply go into the state system. And I do worry about the impact that will have. A report from the House of Lords that has recently been done working with the Times newspaper forecasts that about 26% of pupils that currently attend private schools will be coming to local authorities and asking for a mainstream school place. that is worrying when forecasts are already stretched at the moment. This council is working really hard. We're investing over £40 million into expanding existing schools. One of them is in your patch, but that's to facilitate new houses being built, and it doesn't take into account the impact that VAT being added onto fees may have with children leaving the private sector. I have, however, tasked officers within the department to assess the potential impact on Nottinghamshire County Council and our place planning. There are about 4,664 children who attend private schools in Nottingham at Nottinghamshire, and we need to understand the impact that this VAT may have on what percentage of those may enter the mainstream setting. I note on Monday in the Children's Committee that you asked for a review into the VAT impact on private schools on our place planning to be added to the work programme for the Children and Families Select Committee. I hope Councillor Inchonawal, I know he has taken note of that, and I encourage the committee to review that, but I've also tasked officers with it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. We have 15 minutes left and 3 questions to go, so just bear that in mind. And our next question is from Councillor Lee Waters, and this is regarding council tax rates, and Councillor Richard Jackson will reply. So, Councillor Waters, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Can you state how much the medium council tax band B was per Nottinghamshire County Council on Thursday, the 6th of May 2010, and how much it is today?
Thank you, Councillor Waters, and Councillor Jackson, please.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I thank Councillor Waters for his question, the answer to which is already published, and would be quicker to have Googled it than to have written, submitted, and then asked the question to me, but I'm more than happy to answer it, Chairman. Bandy council tax in 2010-11 was set at £1,193.18. Bandy council tax for 24-25 is set at £1,542.66. That's a 29.29% increase in council tax since 2010. That's significantly below CPI inflation increase, which was 49.8% over that period, and further still below RPI inflation, which rose by 60% over the same period. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Councillor Waters, do you have a supplementary?
Yes, Chairman, thank you. Just clarifying your answer, also there have been adult social care precepts of £264.42 on that, and that means council tax has actually gone up to 1,807.08, so that's a 51.5% increase. Do you believe that services provided by this council are better or worse than 2010, and that residents are getting value for money for the high level of council tax?
Thank you, Councillor Waters, and Councillor Jackson, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So he did know the answer before asking the question, but anyway, look, yes, £1,807.08, including the adult social care precept, which wasn't actually part of the question. Even so, that still represents a 51% increase since 2010, which is in line with CPI, and a 67%, and is significantly below RPI, which, as I said before, was 67%. We've just heard a very thorough answer from Councillor Taylor about the dramatic, significant improvement. For example, and this is just one part of what this authority does, and I noticed faces across there didn't like the length of the reply because they didn't want to hear this good news about how well treated our children and young people are compared to when we took over in 2009. That's one element of where services have very significantly improved, and where it's been recognised by those who are tasked with examining the way we deliver services. We could go on and tell you about all the other improvements that have been made to services, Mr. Chairman, but you're limited for time, and I know that Councillor Clark wants to get to the final question that he has to answer this afternoon.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. And our next question is from Councillor Maggie McGrath, and this is regarding flooding in Stapleford. And Councillor Neil Clark will reply. So, Councillor McGrath, please.
Thank you, Chair. It's quite brief, Neil, actually. There has been flooding in Better Lane area of Stapleford in recent weeks again, which has caused significant distribution to the residents and businesses who are worried about the impact if it happens again. What flood elevation measures are planned for the area going forward? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McGrath, and Councillor Clark, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm pleased to say there's a lot of work being going on in terms of flood alleviation measures, and you're quite right. Significant disruption to whether it's residents or businesses or anybody, it is devastating, and I do not diminish that devastation at all. Sadly, the businesses on Bessel Lane suffered significant internal flooding from both storms Babette and Henk. As such, they have been the focus of recent work by our flood risk management team via East Midlands Limited and also colleagues from the Environment Agency. In October last year, Storm Babette impacted 21 businesses, while Storm Henk in January flooded 9 businesses. The Council has published Section 19 reports following these 2 events, exploring the causes. These reports indicate that whilst the properties were not directly affected by the River Erewash, where it runs behind them, the river had overtopped its banks further upstream. This overtopping then flooded the road network and followed the topography of the land and highway to flood the properties. Although reports provided by local businesses indicated that there were a large number of blocked gullies, whilst this level in the River Erewash, these gullies would have been unable to discharge effectively. Therefore, a combination of overland flows from the River Erewash and surface water appear to be the main contributing factor to flooding in Storm Babette and Henk. More recent flooding events on Bessel Lane appear to be the result of localised highways flooding. Investigations from VIA have identified that various assets in the area have been damaged by 2 causing County Council highway assets to become ineffective. VIA are currently awaiting confirmation from one of the third parties with regards to date of works for the remediation of these issues, and they are being pursued. Site visits have already taken place by both VIA and third parties to ensure they are fully aware of the scope of works needed. Remedial work on some assets have already taken place, and the subsequent gully connection has been replaced to ensure the asset has become operational. VIA are currently chasing all relevant parties to receive a full timeline of all outstanding remedial work to be undertaken. Our flood risk management team are currently working with the business community and local landowners to look at riparian responsibilities as well. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. And Councillor McGrath, do you have a supplementary?
No, thank you, Neil. That was.
Thank you. Excellent. Oh. So we go on to our final question, and this is from Councillor Tom Hollis, and this is about pothole repair data. And again, Councillor Neil Clark will reply. So, Councillor Hollis.
Thank you, Chairman. This to the Chairman of the committee. Can you tell us why this council claims not to hold the data to inform us how many potholes or road repairs have been visited on more than one occasion? Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, and thank you, Councillor Hollis, and also just to remind colleagues, 8 minutes left, just to bear that in mind. Councillor Clark.
Oh yeah, 7 minutes 59 seconds, I think. Yeah. Yes, thank you, Chairman. Similar question was asked by Councillor Carr some 18 months or so ago, but I'll explain the latest position. We do, of course, keep and analyse records regarding clusters of potholes on sections of our highways. These records are invaluable when determining where to roll out our programme of mechanised patching and also where our wider capital programme of resurfacing works takes place. Due to technological and practical limitations, it is very difficult to identify the exact position of individual highway defects. As such, we do not therefore have accurate data to determine either whether a defect has been revisited or if any previous repair in that location was associated with another adjacent defect. We're shortly looking to adopt video condition surveys for highways in the county. This will further assist in identifying pothole clustering and will enable us to have a better understanding of repeat visits to defects. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. And Councillor Hollis, you have a supplementary.
Thank you, yes. So members may know that this is the third time of asking. Councillor Lee Waters asked in 2021. Councillor Steve Carr, as the chairman just identified, asked this again in 2022, and now I've asked today. You have failed to answer it on every occasion, yet you continue to release information on the reduction in use of ViaFix. So my question is, if you work for Via East Midlands, how are the highways staff able to identify which potholes to fix and in what order on any given day? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Hollis. And Councillor Clark, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, I'm very pleased to say that the VIA officers do work very hard in their inspections, and they categorise, as Councillor Hollis well knows, they categorise the repairs that are required, and they are prioritised to ensure that the worst ones are repaired as quickly as possible, and all potholes are repaired eventually. So there is a lot of work that does carry on in VIA in that vein. I will just refer Councillor Hollis back to the previous council meeting that I indicated some 18 months ago, 19th of January, where I did respond to Councillor Carr, and this is still the same effect. There's no information available regarding return visits to repair defects. This is very difficult to capture. Typically, visits to repair defects at locations where work has been completed are to address further highways defects which have arisen adjacent to completed repairs. This was explored in detail by the cross-party, have I ever mentioned that before? Cross-party member panel as part of the highways review. Repeat visits do occur, but incidents are reducing through the use of the preventative maintenance technique, which seeks to repair larger areas, including those of potential adjacent deterioration within one visit. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. So that brings us to the end of the questions. Well done, everybody, for doing that within an hour. And also, I think you're getting a little better at not making statements before asking questions, but I hope lessons are learned. It's coming up to 12:30, so we will break for lunch, and we'll aim to be back for 1:30. And could I just again just give a little plug and commercial for the raffle outside if you haven't already taken part. So aim to be back here by 1:30. Have a nice lunch. Thank you.